Gundam.tk presents High Grade Ghirarga. Hey again everybody, it's Robert184, 2 R's 2 B's from Gundam Reviews.net, and Zayhart, if you want to watch this review, he had to put on a mask, so I suppose you might have to too. Anyway, after the unboxing the parts, which are pretty interesting in their own right, let's take a look and see if it's going to pull off this very unique looking MS. And when he's finally all put together, what do you think of the new Zayhart suit? Well, his third or fourth anyway. First of all, I'd say that overall it's looking very good just because of the number of colors. I already pointed that out with the legs. The fact that you've got 5 colors in such close proximity is a big plus. That tail back there is going to add a unique flavor compared to the very boring Vagan tails that we've seen too many times over the last 3 generations. Same idea with the upper body though, where you're going to have that colorful chest. The cool parts are going to be a little bit hidden in the back of the arms and on the back of the thrusters. But nonetheless, they are there, especially if you're going to look at it on a rotating base. My big complaint probably would be is I like the looks of this. I'm not as crazy about it compared to the Ghirarga, but it's just not quite lanky enough. When you see it in the anime, it's going to come across as being very slim and streamlined. In this case, it's still going to be more streamlined than certainly most grunt suits, but it's not going to be quite a revolution in terms of a high-grade 1/144th kit. In terms of posability, well, you're not going to have any problems with the skirts there being in the way, so you can get the legs for a full 90 kick forward, but because it's on ball joints, it's just going to go off to the side. The knees are going to give you a nice bend, which is going to be great for that extra green blade action there, or just the regular one. The big problem being, though, is that as soon as I put them together, you may have noticed that the feet, you can have the toes move separately from the heels, but you're just not going to get a lot of surface area touching down on the ground. And anyway, you're going to have to get these lined up just right, and it can be a little bit frustrating. So it looks cool, but sometimes the practice, it's not quite going to work out. For the upper body, you may notice that this front skirt can be a little bit loose, and remember that you can move the waist in 2 places there, which is looking sharp. The arms are going to go around and not intrude with the thrusters there. They're not going to pop out though. This black part, it's going to look good, but it's not going to give you the reach across kind of thing that we've seen with some newer high grades. But you are going to get a nice rotation there, and the arm is going to give you a solid 135. Nothing extra down there for the wrist. They're just going to be on a regular ball joint. And on the back, the thrusters, again, they're going to be a little bit stiff, but they will wiggle in and out a little bit and move up and down. And the head is going to be on a pretty cool mount there. It's just on a single mount. You can see a PC6 in there, but it's going to stay on, and it's not going to be impeded by the fact that he's got that little collar around his neck. And something to be careful of though is that I've already lost these knee parts and the elbow parts a few times just with this simple comparison video that I'm showing now. So let's get to it, starting with the Age 3. This is the orbital and advanced grade form, and you can check out its review, of course, as we all wait for the high grade, which should be coming out and looks pretty exciting. You can see though that the Ghirarga is going to have pretty cool proportions. He is going to be shorter, although that commander antenna is going to be higher than the V fin there anyway. The limbs are all looking pretty small, except something that's just springing to mind though more and more is that you've got those little flares sticking out on the side of the feet, which are sort of going to keep him from looking too slender, but at the same time they're not adding any support. So they're not really helping anything in this matchup here. Next to the Zetas, you can see that there's been an improvement on the fowl-like qualities over there. The hands of the Zetas are going to stand out though because of the yellow there, and the red is certainly going to be toned down to the red that we've seen on Zayhart's more recent suits. And overall, I'd say that this certainly is looking like a 1st generation to 3rd generation skip here. For the advanced grade, you can see that it's actually one of the better AGs just because it is going to have 3 colors compared to some other kits that only have 1 or 2, and I'm looking at you, AG Zetas, as we speak. But outside of the fact that it's missing the black color wraps there, the green on the sticking out of the parts, which you're not really going to notice because it's almost hidden there on the chest and legs, and then the yellow that it's missing, the AG does a very good job for a very reasonable price of capturing it. And you'll find that his spear is pretty silly, and so is his. But finally, when it comes right down to it, when I look at these two next to each other, you can see the improvement from Zetas and on in terms of the generations here. But going from 2nd to 3rd, I wouldn't say that the Ghirarga is a big step up on the Ghidorah. You are going to see some cool stuff like the fact that he does have the extra green weapon sticking out all over the place, and the tail is a big plus, but the thrusters, when they're not in their open position, I'd say that the wings of the Ghidorah is looking pretty cool, not to mention the fact that in high grade, this one, the clear part with the silver seal underneath is just going to make it shine, whereas with this one, if I had just used the clear green part, you'd hardly even see it under that black canopy there. Even with the seal on, you're not going to notice it. And outside of the fact that I'd say that this guy has a better header, if you could combine the best of the 2 of them in the one commander's fin, I'd say that this one seems to just have a better edge in terms of looks, but that's just me, so why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below. On to posing, where you're going to have a few pros and a few cons, starting with the fact that that tail is going to look great no matter what angle you look at it from. But unlike the previous UE tails that you could actually use to prop them up if they were posed in a silly way, this one's not going to give you any help because of that wire on the inside. Also, you'll notice that the spear, it can be straight if you line it up just right. However, the slightest gust of wind can throw it off, and it's not going to have a nice 180 and be a nice straight stick there. The hands here, they are going to be cool that you've got the Vulcans in them, but you're not really going to notice them. But otherwise, it's the colors that are really going to make this guy shine, especially now that he's away from the glaring color scheme that is the Ghirarga. The ankles have done an okay job of keeping him upright here for the ground poses. That's going to be helped if you get him up aerial. The spear, again, it's going to look okay. The seals are a little bit off-putting, but the tail, it's going to look a little bit awkward there. Not at this angle because you're going to see that it's hidden by the hands. But when you actually take a look at it from the inside, you'll see that it is going to have a pretty ugly looking block there. And it's probably going to look better a little bit attached into the back. But then again, it is a pretty cool looking weapon. And the fact that that wire in there helps it move so naturally is a big plus. And losing to 3 successive members of the Asano dynasty, every once in a while you can see that the Unicorn Gundam, he gets hulked up and he gets angry and he gets big. This guy gets green, except they're just going to be sticking out of 6 different places there. I'd say that the knee ones are certainly going to be the best. I do love the effect that you've got this part here in the front to go along with the part there that's protruding out from the kneecap. When you take a look at it, you can see the attachment points, which is going to look a little bit awkward, but then again, it's more than made up for by the fact that it's got so much fun for the effect parts there. The elbows, you're going to have to twist them in a way if you want them to be visible, otherwise they'd just be sticking out in the back. But one of the bigger pluses has to be that backpack for me, which the advanced grade is just going to have these plain old ones there. The high grade, the fact that they open up looks like a plus. It's got the green, which looks like a plus, black and turtles, and then you add in these ones, and you could angle them forward if you wanted to. I suppose you could even pop them off and put them down below if you wanted to do something that's not in the anime. But this guy certainly living up to the expectations of a big, angry bad guy. The only thing that's missing is the light show. This is a pretty silly aerial pose, but remember, he's actually tall enough that you'll probably have to put in the extender there if you want to get him up properly aerial and not have his feet touch the ground, if you were to try to have him do the Imperious UE Vagan leader kind of pose. Anyway, you can see here with the spear, both separate in either hand, you can have them pointing up or down, which can look okay, but it's that jutting knee coming forward that's going to be a lot of fun, and again, the colors are just going to pop, especially with all of that extra green in them. 00, yes, where were they at that time? And here's just another look with the legs going mostly down. It's a little bit hard to get them straight down with that action base in there, but having the swords on both hands look okay, and you can imagine that this is the kind of thing that somebody would, a pose that somebody would be making, as he's shutting down to ask him how he made the wrong decision all those years, and how Kyo should not be repeating the same mistakes. Now, the more poses I try, the more impressed I am with this guy compared to the Ghirarga. He's just so colorful no matter what you do, and that tail is certainly just going to be, no matter how you slice it, it's going to look pretty cool as it comes slashing forward, or if you wanted to extend it straight out, it's certainly going to be cool. And the spear, though a little bit awkward if you treat it as a secondary weapon, I think that the tail, with all those green parts in, this guy can actually be a very cool and dynamic guy on your shelf. So that'll wrap up my look at the mobile suit. Certainly not perfect, but there's a lot of pluses going for it, and don't forget to stick around for the verdict where you can hear all the good and bad stuff in one place so that you can make a call for yourself. But of course, you can make your own call with a comment down below so that people can get a lot more opinions than just mine. It's always appreciated. Plus, I'd love to hear what you think of the video, and thanks very much for watching. See you next time, everybody. Bye. This here is quite a busy attacking combo couple. Well, assuming she gets her repaint eventually.